have rooms like that? Anybody have, one of those junk drawers you don't let anybody into? You have one of those rooms in the house, or one of those closets that you barricade. We all have areas like that. Maybe not in our house, because maybe that we keep in that house. But maybe in here. Maybe in here there are some of those areas in our heart where we need to tend to things that we have neglected in the past. Ever see those TV shows? Anybody like Trading Spaces? Right? I like Trading Spaces. What about Curb Appeal? There's Curb Appeal, right? Or House Hunters. They want to know. Yeah. Well, HGTV, is that not a great channel? It is. And it's really cool. Even the TLC channel, What Not to Wear. My daughter has just recently told me I need to be on the show. Really? I thought I was doing okay. But she's like, no, Mom. So she tries to take me shopping now, which is quite interesting. My style at 40-ish is very different than 13-ish. But it's a cool show. And why do we like that show? Because we see somebody go from tired, burned out, feeling unappreciated, unimportant, to recognizing that they have value and that they can be made fresh and they can be made new. There's one, does anybody watch on Sunday night? Extreme Makeover? That's the one. Yeah. Okay, who watches that? Okay. The house? Yeah, Ty, right? The Carpenter Ty? Okay. Now, and you've seen the other show, Trading Spaces, right? What's the difference between those? Big difference. Big budget, yes, okay. But the bigger change, the bigger difference between those is one is just a room getting a quick fix. A quick fix. A facelift. A change in coat of paint. The other thing is demolished completely. Knocked down, destroyed, flattened, new foundations laid, and an entirely new structure built. One is transformation, and one is conforming to the newest trend and the newest style, the newest look, the newest look. One is temporary, one is permanent. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16, it says, therefore we do not give up, even though our outer person is being destroyed. Our inner person is being renewed day by day. For our momentary affliction, those times when God wants to do a little work inside of our hearts, there is a little pressure, there is a little pain, there is a little dealing with and doing business. For our momentary light affliction is producing for us an absolutely incomparable eternal weight of glory. So we do not focus on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Right? God has plans and purposes for each one of us that are greater than what we have today. What we are going to become is the best person that Christ called us to be. I have a husband and 3 kids and a house, and I have friends and neighbors, and I have to be the best person that Christ calls me to be in all of those situations. And those situations are going to be uniquely different for each and every single one of us. Romans 12, verse 1 and 2. And it says, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, I urge you to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual worship or your reasonable service. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. And it's important to not just all the time look to do those quick fixes, but to allow the Lord to do work in us, because there are things that get caught in these walls. There are things that happen, like this skit. Termites were chewing away at beams, deteriorating the structure and the foundation. My sister found a boa constrictor in her house when she moved in and started doing construction. The thing that drove it out of her house was the pounding of the new construction, where they had to rip down walls, separate the old beams and put new beams in, rip out old plank floor boards and everything else, and put in new ones. And it was the percussion and the pounding, and it was the work that drove that serpent out. How often is that? It's the same thing that applies to us. You know, a few years ago we were redoing our house in Bayshore. And the underbelly of my house was exposed because we had pipes running through the beams into the crawl space. Well, we had a nightly visitor that I thought was just a mouse. Found out it was a mama rat. Big rat. And we had to get rid of that. So there is a lot of things that can creep into these walls. There is a lot that can hide itself away if we don't tend to the inner chambers of our heart. There is a lot. Attitudes, actions, agendas, motivations, worldly philosophies that we incorporate into our Christianity, that we try to marry and make them work together. Sometimes somebody will say something and we get upset and offended. Right? Anybody been offended? Okay. I have been offended. I have offended. We have to pay attention to all those things. You know, when do we get offended? Is it because there's a bit of truth there, and we're neglecting to pay attention to the reality of something that somebody else can so easily see? Let's try not to take offense. Let's pay attention and say, wow, you know what? Maybe I need to deal with that. Yeah. My husband has recently said to me, you always have to have a last word. How dare you? See, there you go. No, I didn't. Yeah, I did. We have to be willing to hear what other people have to say. We have to be taking things in so that we can take them to the Lord and say, okay, Lord, do I need to deal with this? Is this something that's hiding in my beings that I need to contend with and I need to do some work on so that that serpent is moved out? You know, we want to deal with those issues of our heart. And there's all kinds of things. There's fear of failure. We don't want to step out and do anything because we're afraid. Well, guess what? I have failed. I have flopped. I have taken many times. I'm a hands-on person. I have many times taken a ball and started running with it. And I'm protecting it like a football player, you know. Only to find out halfway down the field, I'm running towards the wrong goal. In the wrong direction. It's okay. We will make mistakes from time to time. We will step out and do things from time to time and not exactly get it right. It's all right. God wants us to be willing to step out. When Peter was on the water, when he was in his boat and there was a huge storm, and they saw Jesus walking on the water, the one thing that Peter shouted out was what? Jesus, if it's you, call me out on the water. Oh, that sounds so great, right? Shouldn't you all do that? You should all do that. But what does that mean, though? That means that you have to put your foot over the side of the rail and step out onto something that you don't know is going to happen. Are you willing to take that kind of risk?